Man, am I happy to be back recording though? I was sick last week and I was like, I don't know what's happening in Go. What will I do? This is Cup of Go for Friday, August 21st, 2026. Keep up to date with the important happenings in the Go community in about 20 minutes per week. I'm Shai Ahmad.
And I'm Jonathan Hall.
What's up?
Good to have you back, Shai.
Thank you. I was sick. I had strep. I think my daughter might have picked it up this morning, unfortunately, which is why I don't have a microphone and I'm recording from home. But you see my beautiful backyard here in the background. I hope it looks like California-y and nice.
That's nice stickers or decals there on your windows. Was that ice cream?
She made those.
Pizza?
So we have lots of things to talk about, which is an understatement because probably the biggest news is Go 127 came out.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're not going to talk about that at all. We're not even going to mention it once like we just did.
Yeah, we're not going to mention that Go 127 came out at all. No, we want to do it justice. We sometimes have these big release episodes where we just comb through the release. I think it's sort of the equivalent of the, just reading the release notes or the interactive release notes. But we still have so many things to talk about that we missed last week that we want to talk about that.
Yeah. So quick highlights for what will be happening in this episode. We are going to talk about some security releases that came out last week. We have an interview coming up and a whole bunch of a smorgasbord of AI related stuff to talk about. Yeah, stick around. Sloppishboard. There you go. We should just have AI produce this whole thing for us. We could go do other stuff.
Nah, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
When I'm actually reading it and I have to prepare for the episode, I actually learn what the thing actually means.
So you haven't outsourced all your learning it to AI?
Yeah, I haven't outsourced 100% of my thinking. Some friction is good in life, I feel.
That's
but please don't get me started. I have a whole blog post on my blog that's called At the Gates of Slop. Let's just talk about the proposal you put up first.
Yeah. We'll finally now dive in. Yeah. This is a proposal. It's fresh off the press from August 10, 2012. Oh my gosh, that's not new. The proposal is to remove string int. How often do you convert an int to a string in Go by just doing string and then parentheses and an integer?
Convert a string to an int?
I'm sorry, the other way. Convert an int to a string. I said it backwards.
So converting an int to a string, I do all the time, right? You get a number and then you want to put print it actually you do percentage D.
Yeah, you're probably doing fmt.printf with a %D or a strconv I to A or something like that, right? Because you want the integer value 12 to be presented as 1, 2, right?
Yes.
But that's not what string int does. It converts it to the Unicode character at that code point. So for ASCII values, it's relatively simple. 65 becomes an A, but that's almost never what you want. So Rob Pike proposed this back in 2012.
The fact that I didn't remember what it does probably proves that it's not what I expected.
Don't want that.
I do the I2A thing because I need a number and then I want to print it or store it,
of course.
Interpolate or whatever.
And that's normal. Now, the rare cases where you would want to do what string int does would be something like you're writing a file in byte format or something like that. Mm-hmm. But there are better ways to do that too, less surprising ways to do that. Which is why a couple of years ago, I think, I don't remember which version of Go, but this was added to Go Vet. So Go Vet now complains if you try to do string int directly. The proposal now is to completely remove it from the language. A breaking change.
I guess we're bound by the Go 1 compatibility promise to keep this until Go 2. That was a comment by Andrew Gerand in 2013.
Yes.
Opened August 10th, 2012.
Yeah, this is.
I think I was 17.
Were you using Go yet?
No. I was using Assembler, C#. These were my two main languages back then.
Yeah.
What happened? Why is this like raised from?
Why is this raised from the dead? Yeah. So I'm sure you recall the whole reusing of a variable in a loop thing that happened many versions ago, where it used to be really annoying. Yeah, it was Go's most infamous foot gun, and it got fixed, which was technically a breaking change. They've essentially decided we could do the same thing for this. This is another foot gun. So the proposal is that starting with presumably Go 128, assuming it's accepted in time, this would just stop working in new versions of Go. But old versions of Go would still use the old one. And I'm assuming that if your Go module or your Go build tags for the file reference an older version of Go, just like it does for the loop variable, it would continue to use the old logic. So it would be sort of on a per file, per module basis that you would get the new behavior. I'm assuming that's the case. This isn't fully laid out here, but that's how they did it with the loop variable. So I'm assuming they would use the same sort of rules to allow us to stop having this foot gun and go while old code continues to behave the foot gunny way.
So I'm looking at the discussion, and it seems like it was almost a likely decline because, well, it simplifies the code in the compiler just a little bit, but it might break code. And what you're saying is it will actually not break code, right?
That's right.
Because if you tie it to a language version.
Correct.
Ooh, right. I get it.
If you wrote old style code in a new version of Go, that would break, but that's not.
That's fine.
That's fine. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I do want to point out this comment here of vet is not universal by Austin Clemens here on the issue tracker. It's true technically that you can compile and ship Go code without running Go vet, but I mean, come on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think there's two things to tease out of this. And the first is, you're right, it's not universal, which is why it was allowed to go into Go vet in the first place. If it were universal, then a Go vet failure would be the same as a compiler failure, right? So the fact that it is less enforced is what allows it to be more strict in the first place. And I guess actually that's my 2 points right there already. It is a different barrier. It's still a high barrier because it's almost universal. Like you can ignore it if you want to, but you get notified about it. So it is a little bit of maybe a catch-22 because like part of the argument in favor of doing this now is, it's been in GoVet for a while, so people probably aren't doing it. But on the other hand, they're also saying, but GoVet isn't universal. So, is it universal or is it not? You can't I feel like the discussion is arguing both directions. Having said that, I'm in favor of the change.
Me too. It seems super reasonable. I wonder, though, like, is it interesting at all? Like, this is an open question, to search for code that looks like this. Like, is this interesting to search in all Go code, calls to a string and then a number? Like, is there any point?
Is there a point to do that? Occasionally, it could be
because if it doesn't break, then there's like zero reason not to do it. It'll just change new code, right?
Yeah.
I wonder. Well, maybe we used to do source graph. It seems like there's zero results. Maybe I'm like my search foo is wrong, but I'm trying to use this app we saw for similar purposes, source graph. So I'm searching for string, open paren, 0x, and then anything. There are literally zero results. So either I don't know how to search in this app, or this doesn't happen. So
it must happen.
To string.
Yeah, it must happen because I use string conversion all the time, but usually between other string types, not between integer and string. So
yeah,
or byte slices and strings.
I'm trying to see if I can find like cases where it's an integer, any digit, any number of times. Let's see. Yeah. So rand.string. That's weird. Test utils. No, I don't think it actually happens.
I don't think it happens.
Enable Kent sensitivity. Yeah. Well, this is an interesting tool. I'll play around with it more. But if we can actually find it, if we can't actually find real cases of it in the wild, that would be interesting to add to the discussion, right? Like, I searched public code and this doesn't seem to actually happen. I'll add it as a comment to the issue, which is this one. I've searched public code using source graph and haven't found any real usages of it, which isn't surprising. Cool. I'll submit this later after I clean it up, not live on the air.
Very good.
But I'm all for it. This seems like a good change. All right, let's move on then. Security releases. It's my favorite topic, as longtime listeners of the show know. There are 10 things fixed.
Oh my gosh.
It's impossible to go over all of them. And actually, a lot of them are interesting. But I've picked 2 to share with you today, because I think they teach 2 interesting topics that you know might be useful for you even outside like Go security.
All right.
When there's a problem in production, what is it always?
The other
There's
guy.
a haiku about it.
Oh wait, I don't know the haiku.
It's DNS. It was always DNS.
Oh, it's always DNS.
It was
right,
DNS.
Right. Sure.
So it's DNS. The context is, of course, Go has security releases, like minor releases. This time we're talking about 126.6 and 125.13. Before we dive into the details, like always, just upgrade. Unlike upgrading to 127, which you need to wait until our episode to make sure that you want it. The minor security releases are almost always worth upgrading for. 2, I mean. And one of the security fixes is a panic when DNS server, like the DNS Go code, tries to parse a specific DNS message. So DNS has these like record types, right? Which ones can you remember, like off the top of your head?
A would be the obvious one.
Right. A and A.
Yeah,
and these
right.
are the ones. And if you really stretch, like, you know, if I put a gun to your head, you'll be like maybe MX for email,
MX,
or
TXT.
NS.
Yeah. I used to be a DNS nerd when I had to for my work.
Man, I used to sleep literally. I mean this in the most literal sense there is. I used to sleep on Tenenbaum, like the computer networks book was my pillow for like a few days. In the most literal sense possible. I rested my head on it. Luckily, it's thick enough, so it has good neck support. So what do A records have in them?
They map a host name to an IP address, right?
Exactly.
That's
so
it.
when I'm like quizzing you, like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's like that sounds like it's supposed to be complicated, but it's easy.
It is easy.
I feel like a gotcha interview question.
Yeah. Gotcha interview. I love those. What's the difference between a duck? If you're in a box, how would you think outside the box? Anyway, before I shrink you down to the size of a penny and put you in a blender, you're absolutely correct. The A record has the DNS like name to the IP address, which used to be like enough to start talking to a web server, right? You have its IP address and you can just start talking to it. But the web has gotten a lot more complicated since then, right? Every server has, maybe it's a redirect to HTTPS, right? And then when you redirect to HTTPS, which protocols do you support? And you end up having like a pretty significant ping pong from the moment you got the IP until you have all the information you need to like get working. Apparently, and I didn't know about this, there's a relatively new message type, not quadruple A, SVCB.
Never heard of it. Okay.
You want to guess what it stands for?
Something with simple? Is it
no,
as simple?
No. It's nothing gets simple anymore. It's service binding. Service contract binding or something like that.
Okay.
SVC binding. SVC service and B is binding.
Okay.
This is a new message type, and it has a lot of parameters where it's not only we're looking at the RFC request for comment documentation. It's number 9460. You can read it yourself on the RFC editor. If you're watching the video episode, we're also sharing it, but it's just the document that outlines what this message is supposed to do. what it's supposed to do is give you, like, you can read through the entire thing, and it's like RFCs, as they tend to do, it's like incredibly detailed. But this service binding message type is basically give you more details about the service you're going to talk to, with a lot of parameters that for each endpoint. Meaning you could detail, when talking to my server, for all these endpoints, this one supports TLS this version, and this one has encrypted the client hello, this one doesn't have it. So a lot of detail.
So I suppose it's meant to be a shortcut, so I don't have to like look up the IP, then do HTTP and get the redirect address, then do the redirect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's sort of a shortcut.
Like you tell it what things you support, and then it tells you what things it supports, and then you do the encrypted client hello, and then blah blah blah. Like it. Right. For example, the record includes the public keys already, so you don't even need to ask the server for its public keys.
These must be big records then.
Exactly. And that's the bug. There's just a panic of a buffer overflow when you're parsing invalid messages. Parsing an invalid service binding message, or by the way, there's a similar equivalent one for HTTPS. It's the same concept. The RFC actually talks about them both. So if the parameter overflows the message, it can panic. It's true that the messages can be really big, and it's understandable why you would think that, a really big message might like cause DDoS, and that might actually be true. Maybe someone should look into it now that I'm saying it out loud. But this is something way simpler. Like the size of a parameter value may overflow the message buffer because, every record has like multiple parameters. You can just have a really big number there, and then it causes a panic.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I didn't know about this record type. It's obviously reasonable, but it was interesting to learn about it. The fix is pretty simple though. So if you have DNS servers and you don't want people to, send service binding messages that can crash them, you should upgrade.
So this matters if I'm running a DNS server that's written in Go?
That case matters. If you run code that parses DNS messages as part of a data pipeline, for example, like you're writing a firewall or something like that. Okay. Someone might crash your firewall if you're using that. So it's not necessarily a server. It's anything that parses DNS messages. I just assume that most cases are DNS servers.
Right. Fair enough.
But even, I don't know, like if there's a Wireshark, I don't know what language Wireshark is written in, but it's older than Go. So it's probably not in Go. Yeah. But if you have like a Go module for Wireshark, worth updating as well, I guess. Man, I love Wireshark. All right. So this was the first one. Again, this is 1 of 10. I'm going to pick another one, which was reported by a dear friend of the show, Filippo Valsorda. And this one wouldn't surprise you, related to cryptography. It's fixed transparency log tile verification bypass. How do these words make you feel?
I think I understood about 2/3 of those words.
Yeah, tile for me was I was like, what? I don't know what is tile like a normal. I only know tiles in the floor. Right. You know what I mean? And I tried to read this, and actually, very, very luckily for us, there's a great commit message, which explains this pretty well. But it does require a bit of background. This vulnerability is like real, and it impacts the Go sum and like the verification that the data you're getting is actually the data you want. So let's start with the Go sum file. What is that?
It's I don't know what the hashes represent, but it's some sort of hash of each specific version of each module you're using, so that for verification purposes.
So what the hash, I didn't know about this, is, or I think I did, but not in the detail that I'm about to share. Is like to make sure that the module is the one you actually want. Because theoretically, someone could take over your Go proxy, your Go server in the way, and download not the code you want, right? And nobody wants that. I want the code that I asked for. So if I ask for, Jonathan's new Logorus version, which we'll talk about later on, you are an attacker, and you want to put some malicious code on my machine, right? Like a crypto logger. You wanted to, crypto miner, you wanted to run crypto on my machine. A good way to do that would be to take over like whatever server I'm downloading my Go code from, and just serve some malicious code from there, right?
Sure.
So the go sum is the part that doesn't allow you to do that. Now you see the hash. How do you think that like provides some security?
I imagine the Go toolchain validates that hash against the version it downloads when it's downloading, maybe when it's compiling, to make sure that things match. Probably only when it's downloading, I'm guessing.
So you're correct, but there's a little question here of trust, because where do you get the hash from, right? Like you have to have some root trusted thing.
Right.
And the way they solved it is with a thing called Merkle trees, which I learned and then forgot and then relearned for this episode. It sounds complicated, but it actually like, let's say you have A and B, right? A is like trusted and B is like not trusted. You hash A and B and then you hash both of them. And then you hash both again. You have C and D and then you hash both of them and then you hash the result again. And it looks like sort of like a tree. But if you change any one of the leaves, all the results change. So it has a nice quality, like Merkle trees, that it can give you a lot of verification. Like if the things don't match, they don't match, but you don't have to recalculate everything if you know some of them are trusted. And that's how the Go sum, like, sort of DB works. It's based on Merkle trees. And because otherwise you'll have to calculate the hashes of all the things in the world every time you want to, make sure that your specific module is correct, which obviously you don't want to do. You don't want to download this entire tree and then run all the hashes in the world. So the fix, the bug, I guess I should start with the bug before I go to the fix, is you have these like this Merkle tree, which has some things, assigned, trusted, like root. And then you download the modules that have these like little checksums, and you make sure that the checksums match up to the root, like you calculate it back up to the root, assuming some parts are trusted. Basically, everything that's from the proxy is considered malicious until you compare it to the trusted root at sum.golang.org. So there is a Go SumDB that's like a checksum database. It's an append only, and that represents a Merkle tree. And you don't want Go to download the entire Merkle tree because it's millions of hashes, and you only need to verify one module. So you cut up the tree into like these convenient blocks, and these blocks are what's called the tiles. So it's all the consecutive hashes from one level. So already now I know what is a tile in a Merkle tree. It's just like one level of a Merkle tree. And what you do is you reconstruct only the levels above a tile, and then storage and network access are much more practical because you only do one branch to verify your thing. Now the root is trusted of the tree, and then the tile reader fetches more tiles. It can fetch it from the network, from a disk cache, from Go proxy, whatever. And the downloaded tiles are obviously not trusted, right? Because you're downloading them from my malicious thing. When you'll verify them, the hashes won't match up, and it'll be like, whoa, this is like not matching up. Someone's trying to supply chain attack you. Does that make sense? Cool. The bug was, you want the tile readers like give me hash X, and then it figures out which tiles it needs to bring, which parent tiles prove it, and then it reads it, and then it reads like the unverified bytes and then verifies them. But sometimes you get duplicates, right? You have a tile A that needs tile B, that needs tile C, and that goes to the root. But to verify the root, you need A, B, and C, and the tiles you're requesting are C, D, and E. You don't want to fetch C twice. Does that make sense? Like imagine the tree. You need 3 are below you and 3 are above you, and 1 is shared in the middle.
Right. Okay.
There's no reason to go fetch C twice from the Go module proxy, right?
Yeah,
just
right.
fetch it once. The ones below are trusted, the ones above are not trusted, or it depends on how you visualize Merkle trees, right? Or trees in general. Yeah. So there's some group of them are trusted, right?
Right.
Some group are not trusted.
Mm-hmm.
What would you expect to happen when you deduplicate the lists in terms of which ones to trust and which ones not to trust? Let's say A, B, and C are like A and B are trusted, and C, D, and E are not trusted. But C was also part of the first group because, that's what I need to verify the root.
You might have to walk me through it. I don't know if I'm making the connection eventually.
I'll explain it again. You need A, B, and C to verify against the root, and you need C, D, and E. You need that. Those are the ones you need to download to verify the signature.
Okay.
C, D, and E are not trusted.
Right.
And usually the ones like A and B are trusted because those are the ones you verify against the root. Those are the ones you assume are okay. A is like the root, right? So that's signed and trusted. The code was like, well, to verify the root, I need C, D, and E. And to get C, I need, to verify the root, I need A, B, and C. And to get the hash I need for C, I need E, D, and C. Obviously, you don't want to fetch C twice.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I'll just put it in one of those lists, either the trusted one or the untrusted one. It put it in the trusted one.
The trusted, even though it shouldn't have. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So you could, the whole mechanism basically, it collects it and then it deduplicates. Again, shout out to the commit message where you see this, it collects all the tiles it needs to compute the tree hash and then the requested index, really walks through it. There's even a little ASCII art that shows how this works. And then some of the tiles are basically just never authenticated, but were still used and they were completely attacker controlled. So it basically didn't do the security contract it was meant to do.
Well, I realize now that none of the tiles in my kitchen are authenticated, so I probably need to change that too.
You should check. You should talk to your contractor. I just love this little element of the commit message. I totally get it. It's it explains, it walks through this entire thing. It ends up with these tiles were all. This is quote verbatim. The tiles were also passed attacker control to save tiles, breaking its security contract. And then 2 new lines, and then oof. Yeah, I love this one. Very interesting. It is serious. So, and this impacts everybody, everybody who downloads dependencies. So definitely worth upgrading.
Which brings me to a point that I think is interesting here. This bug and one other in the release isn't in the standard library or the standard tooling. Actually, there's a couple of those. It's in the Xmod module. Why is that included in a Go release since it's part of the golang.org/x/mod repo? And I had to go figure this out. I know the answer now, but I'm curious if you know the answer. You can tell our listeners. If not, I'll tell you what I learned.
I have no idea.
In the last few minutes.
Maybe because I look at all these things as part of Go, but obviously you're correct. They're not technically part of the Go, repo or whatever.
So I was looking at the CL, the change list for this fix, just as you were talking about it, and this is actually it is part of Golang.org X mod. And there are 2 vulnerabilities in this release from there. And there's another one from XNet. But those are vendored into the Go repo.
Oh.
And I'm assuming that's because it's part of the Go toolchain. So this isn't part of the standard library, but this toolchain depends on this. So we also had a security vulnerability release announced at the same time for the Golang.org X mod package, which is exactly the same thing. So we don't need to talk about that as a separate news item because it's the same news item. Same fix landed in 2 different places.
Yeah, that makes sense. But again, the whole, X is not really part of the standard library. It is. I mean, it's vendored in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Practically it is. Cool. So these are 2 highlights of the security releases. Again, there are 10. So we're not going to go through all of them, but some of them are more vanilla and boring, parsing bug, whatever.
Yeah. HTML.
There's always a lot to learn from these security releases. I love churning through them. And I hope you enjoyed listening to this. I'll get off my security soapbox now.
All right, Shai, we've been talking a long time about these two items. I thought string int would take a while. The security issues took a while. I think we're going to have to save our discussion about MCPs
And the AI assisted stuff.
Yeah, AI assisted stuff. We're going to have to save most of that for another week.
You know what? Claude has been making me wait for so long for API responses recently. It can wait. The AI can wait on me for a little while. Just turn the tables on it.
Well, if you were itching for some AI content, we have some. The interview that we're going to be doing is AI related. So I know you haven't heard it, Shai, because I recorded it last week while you were sick. So stick around. I'm
excited. I actually won't hear it until the episode comes out. So like stick around, but I actually have to stick around until the episode though. How about we jump to a quick lightning round?
I think we should. We should get more than two things on our backlog taken care of this week. So
let's go. Lightning round.
First up, Logris has a new release. Do you remember Logris? Did you ever use Logris, Shai?
Yeah, I like Zerolog, but I use Logris as well. And now I don't need any of them because there's Slog.
Exactly. So I used to be a big Logris user. I submitted some PRs way back in the day. And then I was actually surprised several weeks ago when Manuel de la Peña, who we had on the show to talk about Go test containers.
Well, I'm the core maintainer of Test Containers Go. Do you know that Test Containers is a set of libraries in multiple programming languages? Yes. The more famous or the older one or the one that came first was the Java flavor of Test Containers. And from that language, many different implementations appear in different languages.
He pinged me and was like, hey, there's PR you have on Logris. Could you answer some questions on it and get it merged? I'm like, wow, I forgot that even existed. I went and looked and I had created a pull request back in 2023 to add slog support to Logris. Anyway, long story short, that has finally been merged and released. So now Logris version 1.10 supports slog natively. So if you're still using Logris and want to support slog, either permanently or transitionally, it's easier now. This release also has a bunch of performance improvements. So if you're using Logris, which few people probably are anymore, but if you are, this is definitely worth an upgrade for the performance improvements, if nothing else.
I would assume that if you're using, if you used to use Logris in a big project, like the cost of removing it and replacing it with slog, it's just not worth it. What's the point?
Probably, yeah. For a large project,
this will probably make the transition easier.
Yeah.
Well done. This is slowly becoming the Jonathan open source contributions show because there's another release to talk about, right?
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah, Qi, the web router that we all know and love, had a new release recently.
Citation needed.
This is another one of those packages you probably don't need anymore because the standard library has improved. But I also created a pull request on Qi almost a year ago, October 2025, to fix a very minor bug in how it reports allow headers. So the bug was if Qi responds to a request that uses an unsupported method. So like say your endpoint only accepts get and somebody sends a put, it can respond with an allow header that tells you here's the ones that are supported. It would duplicate some of those headers in the allow header.
It would duplicate the headers.
So it would say like allow get comma get. Yeah, the allow header itself would have the allow methods.
It have get twice
sometime. So it might say allow get. Not a big deal. I don't think it broke anything because I imagine every client would like deduplicate that. I submitted. I was one of like 5 or 6 people to submit PRs.
Yeah, I love this like Dancing with the Stars situation they have here. It's like a reality TV show. There are like 17 PRs that fix it, but you got the
I won the lottery
on the and the chair spins around.
Anyway,
looks like the cleanest fix.
Yeah, I didn't look at all the others. It's hard for me to imagine a dirty fix for this bug. It was pretty simple thing. Anyway, if you're using Qi, and I am on a couple projects still, you might upgrade to 5.3.2 and have fewer duplicated options in your allow responses.
Well,
That's all I got.
lightning round item is a kind of a weird one, but we had Patricio Diaz on the show talking about crap.
Oh, yeah. That was a crappy interview, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm Patricio Diaz. I'm from Paraguay. I'm a software developer and a freelancer right now. I'm looking for a new position. In fact, the crap is part of my portfolio. I'm building to catch up the attention of recruiters and all of that.
So following that interview, we came up with the idea, like sort of live on the show, to have a crap report for like various Go repositories. And, it ranks the crap, which is cyclomatic readability and predictability. Higher is worse. It's like golf of various like popular libraries, which I've found very interesting. So you see TypeScript Go, Tailscale, Podman, Netbird, Chainloop, Olama, Gorm, like all these different libraries here with their scores and when they were analyzed. So you should build this like very cool tool. It's called Go Crap Tracker. And if you want like the details on how it's working, just go to our Slack channel, #CupOfGo on the Go for Slack, because it's actually literally all happening there. So this link is cool. Go visit it and like look at the numbers and be like, why is TypeScript so bad? Whatever. And like there's interesting discussions about, whether this number means anything at all, blah, blah, blah. It was interesting to see that it's all happening in the context of like Cup of Go. I used to think this show, I don't know how you feel about it, but I used to think about us like taking from the Go community and just sharing what we took. But recently, more and more, it feels like we're like creating things that if the show didn't exist, that like just straight up wouldn't happen.
Is it generative?
It's generative. It's definitely not artificial. And I don't know if it's intelligent.
All right.
Anyway, so there's just this follow-up cool project. Thanks, Patricio, for putting that up.
All right, stick around for our interview with Gaal.
Yeah, and as we promised, no ad breaks. But if you want to know more about previous episodes or buy swag, the store is still up, but it's going to be down very soon.
Do it now while supplies last.
Yeah, exactly. We'll still offer things just via email instead of via shop. Visit cupago.dev. You can find everything there. Also, we started putting out YouTube shorts. So if you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, maybe do that. I don't know. You don't have to. But we're just trying to get the show to more people. And I think it might help.
You don't have to, but like and subscribe.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much to all three of you for joining. I think this is the biggest interview we've had on the show, or will have had on the show. Who wants to start with an introduction and tell me, of course, who you are and where you come from and why you're on the show?
Yeah, I can do that. So everyone's calling me G because my first and last name are a mess. Sorry, obviously French. Based in Texas for 7 years now. So we're just a group of 3 friends that also happen to be working together in another tech startup doing like deployment and things like this. And we all came up with the same issue in our own setup at the same time. We were struggling with the amount of different coding agents, different systems and everything. And we were all configuring them manually. And I've got 3 different machines. I've got external servers, and they were never in sync. And I hate that. I want a machine to be fully replaceable if I lose it or something goes wrong. So we came up with the idea of Gaal, Gaal, because like we wanted a simple layer to actually be able to govern and sync all the configuration between, at the beginning, an individual agents. So different machines, different agents and stuff like this. And well, the second step after that was that every time we were discussing with someone from the ecosystem, they were like, I'm struggling so much. I've got like 10 people on my team. Everyone's using different setups and we don't know how to deal with that. So we started thinking of Gaal as more like the overall team organization way of managing skills, MCP, and agent configuration, whether that's coding agent to use on your laptops and desktops, but also now that we see with background agents running all the different systems like Mastras, Cloudflare agents, and stuff like this. So that's basically the core idea and the need we had from the product. I'm going to introduce my fellow colleagues, Greg, based in Manchester right now, and Michael, based in France. We are all more or less technical backgrounds. Michael has been like a highly skilled developer for like the 30 years now. I've been doing development as well for 20 years. And I'm sorry, not the right side of development, mostly PHP and Node.js. I'm sorry for this. Michael is more Go-oriented than myself. And Greg, which is also a really good friend of ours, is more on the product marketing side of it, even obviously if he has a really good understanding of everything technical behind that.
I'll say, I know a lot of developers. I think that's where I come into it. No.
No, the best thing about Greg is that you can put it anywhere and people will think he's a developer, but he's not. He's really good at disguising himself.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about who initially had the idea for this product for Gaal, and who proposed it first. What was the birthplace or the birth moment of Gaal?
I was actually spending a few days at Michael's place because we've known each other for like 20 years. And we were discussing on his couch, and I was actually trying to do some reinstall of my machine at the time. And I was struggling because I realized that I had Claude, Codex, Spy, and I was trying other agents, and actually realized that, oh God, everything is everywhere. I have no idea what it's running. And actually, when I started actually listing everything that was installed, I realized that I had like 300 skills overall everywhere. And also some sneaky one from a company called Vercel that actually got installed without my own knowledge. So that triggered a lot of things because those skills can access a lot of different things. They can catch your prompt history, a lot of things. So more than just organization, it's also become kind of security measures as well. So that's where we started actually working on this. At least just a weekend working on the single binary agent, and then develop that over the weeks to a full-fledged product.
Cool. So is it a paid product at this point, or is it an open source project, or both?
That's a tricky question. We are all deep into the open source ecosystem for a really long time. Mm-hmm. So we want a really good part of the product to remain open source. Mm-hmm. Some things will be source available, but a bit of a different license. The main agents that you can run like as a hobbyist, as an individual, will stay GPL. But we're thinking of other layers. So the goal right now, the strategy, which is still to be revised, is you can use the single binary agent on your different machines, completely open source, completely free. There will be a community edition that will match like companies with like 50 to 100 people that want to manage their skill at scale with like publishing workflows, auditability, traceability. And the only thing that we want companies to pay for is the upper compliance reporting level. So if you're a company with like 1,000 developers, 2,000 developers, then you have to meet SOC 2 compliance and stuff like this. That's where we're going to offer a paid offering to actually match those compliance framework. But that's all. We want to be committed to fully give away what we're doing because that's been in our DNA for the past 20 years.
All right. And is Gaal a full-time job for any of you at this point, or is it a side project? What does that look like?
It's a side project for now. We all work at the same company called Upsun that provide like a platform as a service deployment. Also because we found the same needs inside that organization. So we are part of the engineering team, except Greg, which is more on the product marketing side. But we have 115 engineers, and we see those problems day to day. So that's why we also wanted to create that. And that will remain a side project for now. So, yeah.
Are you using it at your employment, at your work, Gaal? Are you using Gaal at work? Somewhat, a little bit?
We do. We do not officially in the company processes, but some people do, yes.
Okay. I understand that Gaal is written in Go, which is, of course, why you're on this show. Let's talk about that choice a little bit. How did you choose? Well, why did you choose Go? What did you consider, or was that like the only option in your mind, or did you consider alternatives?
We did consider alternatives, but actually, Mikhail, being a big Go fan, that actually settled the debate pretty fast.
Okay.
There are two main reasons we went with Go. The first one, which is not the most important, is that Go is the perfect language for having coding agent work on it. I think like the way Go is structured, the packages, the testing, and everything is really suitable for Cloud Code, Codex, and the other agents. They know the Go ecosystem very well. They're very proficient. And it's also easier to verify what they're doing. So we really like that for it. Because even if we like very well, good, tested, crafted code, we still rely on AI agents to create most of it. So we need to have like the right level of control on top. The second reason, which is more like business related, is because of our deployment model. The Gaal agent that you can use as an individual is a binary you need to have on your computer. So having Go completely bundled, not tied to any other dependency, is a big win there. Better than any node or whatever language is. Rust could have been an option there. I'm not a big fan of Rust personally, but that's just my own opinion. So I would prefer staying with Go. Because we want to also allow companies to do on-prem deployments with the community edition, we need the package to be easily installable, the setup, and maintainable. And having a Go binary, once again, that bundle also the Node.js frontend that goes with it for the dashboard and stuff, is so easy for them to manage. No matter what they're using, even Docker, just bare metal, whatever they're using, is going to be installable in just a few seconds. So that's a big, big plus for us.
Let's talk, so you described the product. I'm curious, maybe this is one for Greg. Who should and who shouldn't use this product and why? Like for our listeners who are considering, should I go try out Gaal? Who should give it a shot and who should pass because it's not solving their problems?
Yeah, I mean, what I've come across multiple times now is like if you're just using a single agent, you're just a Claude Code person, and you have no plans of doing anything else. Honestly, like I would say for that, that's all you're doing, and everything's inside of that. You maybe have 2 to 3 repos you're working on. You've got a handful of skills you use, and nothing else beyond that. You're not trying to go beyond that. Please use Gaal. We'd love to get the feedback, but it's not going to be something where you're going to feel like the super going like, oh, this is amazing. It's helping solve all my problems, because you're not going to feel really any problems with that. Cloud Code is going to be able to easily manage it. But the second you get into that second agent, some kind of an IDE situation there where you're running like Cloud Code and then Codex and then maybe some kind of Gemini thing going on. The second you start doing anything where it's 2 agents or 2 machines you're running on, anything where it goes from 1 to 2, immediately that's where you can see the benefit from there. Even if it's exactly the same, and you're like, because I've had some argue. By the way, I'm the Reddit guy that's posted this stuff on Reddit first, so I get to see everybody's pushback and arguments on this stuff online. And they're like, well, I just use a Git repo and sync on it. And it's like, that's perfect if you're doing something simple, but then what happens the second you want to change and try a new agent? It's constantly. It's not even. The models have become a commodity at this point, but where the big differences come in is like the agents you're using around that, the ecosystem that you're inside of there. And they're always leapfrogging, trying something new. I've seen Guilluame alone go from being a Claude fanboy now to a Codex fanboy, and me going from being a Chat GPT. And I'll be very clear on that. Chat GPT is how I started all my stuff of copy and paste and then copy and paste back and forth to now being a Claude fanboy. And now I'm probably about to switch over back into the Codex world. And I mean, with that, it's being whenever I decide to make that switch, it's going to be, Gaal sync and I'm done kind of a thing. It's not a huge situation for me to make those changes. Whereas, and I manage, because I joke, I know a lot of developers, but since the rise of AI has allowed me, like I had a bachelor's degree in computer information systems back in the day. So I've always been coding adjacent. and knew, no coding principles, no programming principles, no all those kinds of things, but never took the time to just sit down and learn a language. And so what AI has allowed me to do is to be able to code without having to know the code anymore. And for that reason, now I'm building out software factories on a home server that's sitting next to me now. And Gaal is able to keep all my 26 repos connected with the right skills and the right agents and the right MCP servers all in there. And I'm not having to bounce around to each one and see whether it's right or not. So at the base level, if you just want to try to use it, the individual, the second you go to 2 for a company, where we're talking about with the community edition side of it is, right now, as more and more companies are adopting the idea of agentic software development, it's a wild west inside of companies, because you get one person that tries this skill, you got another person that creates their own skill, you got somebody that spins up an MCP server, and you have no idea what anybody's doing and how to manage that. And that's the goal we're hoping to help out with. That is just in the same way before AI was even a thing, the more you standardized and unified how everything's done inside of a coding software development lifecycle, the better output you get, the faster things work. Everybody speaks the same kind of language around those things. And so being able to bring that now into an AI era is one of the hopes we are able to do with this.
I would add two caveats to what Greg just said. If you're not a developer, if you have no idea what Git or YAML file is, don't use Gaal. You're not the target for it.
And also don't listen to this show.
Yeah, I know, definitely. Sure of it. But if you're just a business user that just using Claude for like chatting with it, absolutely no use for it.
Yeah.
The second thing, though, that I think is really important, and I don't trust the big frontier labs right now. Whether that's Anthropic, OpenAI, DeepSeek, I don't trust that they're not going to update their term of use in a way that you will maybe have to change to something else. Mm-hmm. So having your setup backed up somewhere in a more generic way is always good, because if tomorrow I want to drop my Anthropic subscription to go to whatever else exists, then it's an easy switch. Reinstalling everything and moving from that proprietary format to another proprietary format is a mess. So I would be wary about that as well.
Okay. So one of the things you mentioned, Greg, is if you have two of anything. So like, let's say I have a work laptop and a home laptop, and I want to keep some skills in sync. Is Gaal the best way to go, or is a Git repo the simplest way to solve that particular issue?
It'll sound dumb, but both and.
Okay.
So that's how I do it. Is I have a Git repo that I keep track of all the skills that I like, and even ones I built inside of it. But then I use Gaal to then sync, and then I can put the skills specifically that I want into the repos that I want, and it's consistent across the board. So I have that one central place where, and then on top of that, I don't even have to have that if I have the list of it on there. That's where Mikkel is genius in how he built that out too, of going like, okay, if I do this, I want it to go here, here, and here, but not here. And then I want it to pull from here, here, and here, but not here. And then also I want to run this command whenever I do a sync. And so it pulls and does all this stuff too. So for me, that's where I would say it's like, yeah, it doesn't take away from that repo. You can add that in there. So if you've already been doing that and you want to start now using Gaal, it's not that you get rid of it. It's now you use Gaal to incorporate that in. And now you just have one YAML file that is keeping everything in track and in sync. So the second you want to move, you want to do anything like that, you're not sitting there, okay, now I've got to move these over and I got to sync this and I got to get pull this and get push that. And then, you're just, and then, oh, wait, okay, in Codex, I got to go in here and change that from, agent to this and that. And so it's just all handled in one place.
All right. I have a question. Maybe I'll direct this one to Michael, but anyone's free to answer if someone else has a better or a different take. But I'm curious how you overcome some of the technical difficulties that I can imagine exist. My experience is basically limited to Claude Code and Open Code. I haven't tried Codex or Gemini for coding yet. But I like some of the skills just don't, skills and agents and different concepts just don't transfer over. Because of the different paradigms and the different tools used. How has this affected you, and how have you addressed it, if at all?
Good question. Actually, it's more generic. We have some way to synchronize. For example, the list of your tool you want to use. We have a specific tool, but we have some initiative of some provider to have a generic aspect of the tool. Actually, you need to explain all the tool combining for all agentic system. You don't have a translation between them. It can be for the future, but actually, you would like to concentrate only on the capability to just clone the skill, keep the skill up to date. We don't have a capability to map a tool for a specific agentic system to another one.
Okay. So it just keeps them in sync is kind of where Gaal leaves things. So like, I'm trying to remember if I can think of an example. Right. I think, for example, Claude gives you hooks that OpenCode does not. So does that just mean that those don't get synchronized into OpenCode? Is that the answer?
Yeah, that's the same example for a skill. Like, for example, OpenAI allow you to have like 10 front matter different fields that describe the skill and how it should get triggered. But the standard is only 2. So if you give us an OpenAI skill that has everything, then we're going to sync only the 2 required ones to the other system.
That makes sense.
That's kind of the same for MCPs. MCPs is a bit trickier because they're all nearly the same. You have like STDIO, you have like streamable MCPs. But then the way they're implemented into the different agents change. In OpenAI, it's in their toml config file. In Claude, it's a different JSON somewhere. So we do that translation between the base command to launch the MCP and the format that the agent expects to be able to launch it. So that's just more mapping than anything else.
All right. So it's not translation. It's more just like mapping and filtering.
Yeah, but that mapping is tricky because like right now we support like 23 different coding agents. And every day there is a new one. This morning was DeepSeek Harness. I have no idea if they use standards or not. And you know, that's the famous XKCD drawing. Like you have 14 different standards. Let's create one that's going to cover them. And then you end up with 15. So that's this problem we're also trying to override.
Yeah, interesting.
It's also one of the reasons like why the open source, right? Because at a certain point, this is constantly changing and moving. And, you know, I was about to say we're 3 guys working on this. So there's 2 real guys working on this, and then I'm helping them where I can. But like we've already got our first person that's come in and started contributing with us to help out. They've pushed now 2 or 3 branches, I think, or two or three forks into it, and their main focus is on the Gemini capabilities and using it there. And so it's really those people that are closest to a particular agent saying like, okay, I want to help out with this and make this better for everyone from here on out. So I think right now, like I was looking at some of the numbers before, we're like 43 stars, but we know from the actual packages, we have 120 downloads and over almost close to 900 clones at this point. So the fact that it's growing means that it's the chance of more people being able to come in and be involved and helped out with that base piece of Gaal there to say like, whenever the next new thing comes out, that somebody's like, oh, okay, yeah, here, forked it off, and here you go.
And just a quick shout out to that company, which is Positron AI. They are building like amazing data center grade, like GPU cluster and stuff like this. So we're really happy they're contributing. If they have like a few prototypes on end that they could send to us, I'm happy to receive one.
Yeah. Where do you hope to go with Gaal in the next, say, 3 to 6 months? Any major features you're thinking of adding, or is it just polishing and improving the mapping, or what do you have in the roadmap?
There are a few different things. There is the technical part, the pure product part, and there's the commercial and how do we support the project. So we're launching a first paid offering called Registry 42 over the weekend, which is targeted at people that really don't understand the technical side and just want something really easy to use. They can maintain their skill agents in D and then just ask their agent to install it. And that's going to be compatible with Gaal, but that's just a quick way to have some funds to be able to fund Gaal afterwards. The 3 to 6 months roadmap right now is be able to fully have the community edition working and deployed into some customers. We have already a lot of discussion around that, so that will be completely free. So if you're willing to talk to us and beta test it and stuff, you're welcome to. And then, keep getting better. We have a few optimization, even if Go is really good at like file system operation and stuff like this, because we have to scan the file system and the different projects. We're still working on optimizing this because it takes a bit of time right now, which could be better and a bit of resources. So yeah, there are both the technical upgrades to the product, more stability, trying also to figure out where the ecosystem is going with all the different tools and stuff. MCP is evolving right now, skills as well. So we need to follow that and making sure everything stays compatible with it. And yeah, trying to start more obviously the funding of the project side of it.
Yeah, very cool.
The ideal, and once again, I don't know about this, but a year from now being like a product that works on its own, is sustainable, that we can actually provide in the long term, and start maybe hiring 1 or 2 people to work on it. Yes.
Greg, I'm curious if you want to talk a little bit about how community outreach or community response has been. You talked about getting some pushback on Reddit. We're all too familiar with that. Has there been good feedback too?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, anybody that's been on Reddit knows. Like, I think there's some people they find their whole identity as being a troll on there. So it's just it's funny and yeah. So right now the main thing we've been doing is honestly is just kind of starting with Reddit. Some stuff on some other socials, but honestly Reddit's where we've gotten the most traction. It's funny because my day job is doing product marketing for a tech company where everything's like paid for as far as marketing is concerned, and it's not an open source product. So it's been funny because it's nice to be on Reddit and I can just talk about something and not have to worry about them going like, "Oh, you're just trying to make money off this." It's like, well, not from you. So it's interesting and seeing where it takes off and where things have connection with it, and seeing some people that resonate with it. And then, the stuff I was mentioning earlier about like if you have one computer and one, Git repo you're working on, like it's not for you. Those are the people that pipe up the most. They're like, I just use async and Git repo. And it's like, cool, that works for you. Then this isn't the product for you. But then you get the few people that hop in there and go like, oh my gosh, I was just talking about this with my friend, and this is a big issue that we've been running into, and it's nice to see that there's a tool out there. I'll try it out. I think the thing I haven't seen yet is that I would like to at some point, and we've talked about, at least I've thought about this or talked about this, is do we set up like a Discord server, which I've done with past projects before, where I think it gets really interesting very quickly, where you have like 2,000 people in a Discord server, and 5 of them are the actual people talking. And so then it becomes like I'm managing all this for a small amount of feedback. I've thought about, do we do a subreddit? Do we do any of those things? For now, honestly, where the community's been building is honestly on the GitHub page. So just, github.com/GetGaal, I think, it's GetGaal, not Gaal. At one point it was Gaal, but now it's GetGaal for that on there. But just seeing it there, because in all honesty, like it's a product for developers and built by developers. So therefore, we listen and want to be where it's at. So even Positron, we found out about that because we saw somebody made a fork, but then we were like reached out and said, "Hey, what are you doing with this?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I needed it because I guess Gemini like got rid of their CLI, and so he was like, oh, I needed to switch it over to this, and so I forked it." I was like, "You want to send it back? Push it." And he's like, "Can I?" I was like, "Yeah, man." Like just having these conversations around it. So from a community aspect, it's interesting, and seeing that it's we can see the number of people kind of using it, but now trying to find those people to have the conversations to say like, hey, how do we make this better? Getting the feedback as far as like filling out issues or filling out any kind of comments around things, because we have a long list of issues and they're ready to work on at a certain time. It's just prioritization and getting to it is where it plays out.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course.
What we're missing a bit right now is feedback on agents we don't use ourselves because there are so many, like Kilo, all the other ones. So yeah, any contribution there is welcome. It's more like testing because we follow their documentation, we follow their implementation, but we can't guarantee that everything is working perfectly until we have actually people testing it. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And having been a guy that's over documentation, surprise, surprise, not all documentation is up to date or right.
Just tell your agent to write the documentation. That's all it takes, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's hoping your agent gets it right too, and that you catch it. But yeah, that's the other part of it. Is so we're basing it off of what we've been told, but we all know that until you get your hands on it and get it into the wild, you don't know if it's actually going to work in those situations.
Well, I think that's a great segue into talking about how our listeners can get involved, or first off, how they can download it. Where do they go to get it? You mentioned the GitHub. Is that the best place to go, or is there an official website?
Official website is getgaal.com, and that's Gaal, Gaal.
Okay.
Honestly, like we call it Gaal, but I've heard people call it Gail and Gaal.
Okay. We need to get into that because I've listened to the original podcast and I know you struggle with it. So Mikael and I are a big fan of Isaac Asimov and the Foundation TV show and the book series. And Gaal is actually one of the lien between all those different universe and different things. So that's why we call it that way. It also works as govern or go agent access layer, whatever that means. But yeah, we wanted to keep that. Our internal agents are all named after the show as well. So yeah, that's the reason we named it that way.
Okay, very good. So getgaal.com. And if anybody's interested in reaching out or following any of you on social media, I don't want to put you on the spot. If any of you don't have a presence or don't want followers, that's cool. But any of you who do, now's your chance to tell our listeners.
No, yeah, we can add my LinkedIn and X and Greg as well. We're all trying to expand also our audience, posting a lot of content about AI, not just Gaal, obviously, but AI as a whole. I'm more working personally on the processes and workflows around AI agents. So how can you move from just a single agent from a single user to a team-oriented agent, stuff like this? So that's a problematic I work on day to day. So posting a lot of content around this as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy everywhere. I'm Greg Qualls. So at Greg Qualls on all social media, a website, gregqualls.com. And for those that don't want to go read it, it's GREGQUALLS. So that's how that works. And I write about all different things. But yeah, on the Greg Qualls one, I have on there my main AI projects that I'm working on as well. So if anybody wanted to poke in there and see the things I've worked on, with Gaal being one of the top of the list, you can see that too.
Okay, on my side, I'm only available on GitHub.
Okay, perfect.
He's the shadow engineer.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to get in the spotlight.
Awesome. Well, if you can all send me those links by email after the recording, I'll be sure to include those in the show notes for our listeners to follow up on. One last question I mentioned before we started recording. We asked all of our guests this, and there's the answers can be broad. So, like Greg, I know you're not directly a developer, but you just know some. So I'll give you a lot of leeway on this question. But the question for each of you is, what's your favorite third-party Go tool or library? And let's say Gaal is not an option to answer, since we've already talked about that. We'll just assume that's your number one. We'll go for your number two.
I can start if you want.
Yes.
For me, it's pflag, because when you create any application and Go, we need them.
Yeah. Okay. Good answer.
For me, it's this package. It's Go Feature Flag. It's also a French guy, Thomas, which I know by the ecosystem. But basically, title is pretty easy. It's be able to enable disabled features based on flags in your application. And that package, is really solid. Quality is insane. The amount of work that has gone into it is really, really good. So if you ever need that feature, that's the package to go with.
Go Feature Flag. Awesome. I'll have to check it out. Cool.
And mine does not exist anymore, but it was actually a custom Go CLI tool that I vibe coded at one point to convert our documentations from Hugo to another situation. So, that's the only thing I could pull in the recesses of my brain of that I knew that I've involved with Go at another point. So,
all right.
Other than Gaal, I was sitting there, I was like, I'm going to be like, that's easy. And then you took that away from me. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks everybody for coming on and talking about Gaal. I'm sure you'll have a few more followers after this interview and users, hopefully, get some more feedback. So I want to thank you all for coming on. And
Thank you, Jonathan, for everything you're